How are you?
Good. Our producer is John McDonough, and we're hoping to have zooming in Fruin Kembang and Mike Smith. We'll see how that goes here in a little bit. Oh, there's Mike.
Mike's here, Fru's taking a little break.
There's Fru.
There's Fru. So, Michael, how's things in New York?
Since I had last been on the podcast, we had a subway shooting. The lieutenant governor has been indicted for bribery and fraud. The new mayor of New York, I'm very disappointed in.
I like that guy.
Because not backing the police and really cracking down, crime is still rising in New York City more than ever. I don't see any change. I see a lot of talk and words, but I don't see any change.
I'm with you, Mike. I was hoping that Eric Adams, as the new mayor, would set a new course, but apparently not. And
but I mean, an ex-police officer?
Yes, he is.
Then I doubt why some people who are not police will be saying that he's not doing a lot. What does he want to do to bring back a feast and feast again?
Well,
people don't feel safe in New York City any longer. It's costing the city billions of dollars in tourism. People they don't feel safe on the streets, walking down. I mean, the worst thing New York State ever did was they had bail reform, bail reform they did. I understand that people are in jail, that they do minor crimes, but I mean, there's people that are going in and out of, they're committing multiple crimes and they're just letting them loose. This guy that did the subway shooting, they had information on him and they did nothing still. You know, there's no preventative action. And, I mean, people just don't feel safe there anymore. I mean, when they can go into a store and just steal stuff and there's no prosecution or nobody will try to do anything. The criminals don't care about the law. They don't care about other people. They don't care about anything except what they want to do. And until they fear a penalty that they're not willing to tolerate, they will continue with what they're doing. On a more and more crime will keep going up. And, you know, the job of the mayor and the police department is to keep people safe, or at least make them feel that they are safe when they go out. And that's not happening. And it's not just New York City. I mean, all the big cities in the States.
when you take the criminals off the street, you have a small deterrent factor, which will cause people to pause before they do criminal things. And secondly, you reduce the number of people who are out doing criminal things. That's what happened in the past under Giuliani. And who was before Giuliani? The broken windows?
Let me put this analogy, okay? So you have kids, young kids in your house, all right? And they are continuing to use bad language. We'll just pick that for something. They're continuing to use bad language. And you tell them you need to stop it, you know, and a lot of parents say, if you do that again, something's gonna happen to you. And then you do it again, they don't stop with the bad language until you make that uncomfortable for them to do that behavior. So, I mean, when I was growing up, you use bad language, you might get a bar of soap put in your mouth. You didn't want to do bad language again because there was an unpleasant consequence to you for that action. Right now, the criminals have no fear, have no fear of any consequence for their actions that is uncomfortable for them. In order to change that, you're going to have to take some steps that not everybody's going to like. But remember, the police are for the whole community, not just for one small portion of the community. Their job is to make the vast majority of the community to feel safe. And there are laws on the books. I mean, there are laws on the books to enforce the actions. And like I said, one of the worst things they did was the bail reform, because there's no accountability. And once people feel with minor crimes that there's no accountability for it, then they can move on to more major crimes.
I think Fru wanted to say something.
I was just going by your analogy, Mike, which is very, very correct. But if the kids in the house, if the parents are disciplining the kids for using foul language, but if the parents are they are doing that and then using foul language, what do you think will happen?
Oh, I agree.
The truth of the matter equally is, when you say laws or we say crimes, there are other major crimes that goes undetected. Only the weak, the minority, when you talk about in those days of these police officers passing laws, who were suffering? When the two elephants fight, the grass is the one that suffers. So we are not looking at it objectively. We are looking just at those at the bottom. And that what is happening at the bottom is because of those at the top who refuse to make conditions better for the bottom to also rise up and live well.
Oh, I don't disagree with you at all, Fru. And again, when I say enforce the laws, you have to enforce the laws equally. So you can't just pick on the minorities and enforce them there. And then let the people who've got high-priced lawyers let them off. I agree with what you're saying entirely. But I mean, right now they have to do something, or else it's just. I mean, I feel in America now, I'm looking at America like I see some of these movies that have come out over the years, these dystopian societies in the future. I feel like I'm almost living, even though I'm not in New York City, I feel like I'm living in a Batman movie with Gotham, because Gotham is New York City and crime is running rampant. Unfortunately, human nature has bad sides to it. And unless we curb those bad sides, we're just going to dissolve into total chaos in our society.
Well, let's talk about families for a second. In New York City, a couple of years ago, 25% of the students were absent 10 days or more during the semester. Now that's up to 37%, over a third. Now, is this the school's fault or is this the parents' fault?
Parents?
Well,
Parents? Did you say parents, plural?
Yes, I said parents. I used the P-A-R-E-N.
Well, it's parent.
What?
It's parent in most cases.
How about no parents?
It's usually one parent if you... the lucky kids have one parent.
So, if you have 1,000 kids, you have at least 1,000 parents.
Maybe.
You have 1,000 very busy...
It's the system. When you provide conditions available for the parents to be self-sufficient, they will take time to take care of the kids. When you go in some neighborhoods that there are no police, there are no jobs, there are nothing, then you talk to people who don't have even a dream of having a daily meal. You desert that area, and then you take the police to high areas where people are rich and they can survive for themselves. Then once you see, you create those sections within the same state, and then when problem arises, then you blame people in those poor neighborhoods. They pay taxes as well. why should we not as well as police those areas and let the police in those areas be respectful to the people as well as they are respectful in those rich areas? We create imbalance in the society when once those who are at the bottom, they are trying to rise up, the heavy arm of the law and the police come on them. We always blame the victim. But who has the power to change? The rich and the government.
I agree with you, Fru, about some of that. I have my own theories on the problems with education in the big cities because of the single parents or no parents. I know it might seem drastic what I propose, but I almost propose like day boarding schools. So the kids go to school in the morning at 7 o'clock or whatever. The school provides breakfast, lunch, and dinner for the day. They go to school. When school's over, they have a program there where they stay there to help them with homework, and they get a dinner, and they're in a safe environment. Because education is the power for people. If you have education, you have opportunities. If you are in a safe environment, you have opportunities. So I know that's kind of a drastic proposal, but a lot of these kids do not have safe environments, so they don't have any dreams or any way of figuring they're going to get out of where they are. That's where the government should be putting some of their money to help out people to get out of the situations they're in. I don't blame the schools. I blame society for not willing to make the hard choice to get people out of the situations they're in.
Fru?
Well, I agree with Mike. But politicians thrive on chaos. They foment this. They go to the poor neighborhood and cause problems. And then to come in the air as if those problems are coming from those neighborhoods. Because if there was peace there, the politicians will have nothing to do. And that is why I'm saying that if you really want to solve this, let the police force go to those poor areas and send economic activities. The U.S. is a stable place for investment because the whole world knows that once they come here, the investment is safe. If you go to these suburbs, where mostly they are minority suburbs, these people create those conditions so that they are not favorable for companies to come in there and invest. Because if those companies come in there, they will provide job opportunities for those people and those kids who go to school, so that after school they can even have internship and those things. And that will keep them occupied and also make the economy in that area vibrant and invite other people to invest. But they will drive these areas and make them desolate and make them miserable, so that, and sometimes fund them with drugs and guns, so that they have the media has something to talk about.
Okay, we can't just write off the current generation that's young adults. 8 days ago I had breakfast with Guillermo Perez, who is he's 6 months older than I am. He was my roommate in college, one of my roommates. Anyway, Wild Bill owns a auto rental business in Denver, Colorado. And he said in the last year, he has 25 cars. As he's gotten older, he's reduced from 100 cars down to 25. He's had 5 stolen off the lot.
Do you mean he has a used car dealership?
Well, you can look at it as a used car dealership, but he thinks of it as a car rental business.
Car rental business. I didn't hear that word come out of your mouth. Sorry.
All right. He rents cars.
Okay.
He got into business talking.
It's been a good racket for him, so now they steal cars off his lot. And through
What's the
George, the
consequences?
solution is we have crappy government. Stop electing your friends. Oh, we have to. I like him. Always going to vote for him. Well, in Massachusetts, there are a lot of people who are related to elected officials who just don't do their job. And this subsidizing of all these activities, single parent families, look at, you have one kid, we'll pay for one kid. The second kid is going up for adoption. You can't keep the second kid. So pumping out 5 kids, and that's what the language that's used on the street. But having 5 children, we just subsidize the 5 children. We subsidize this whole situation. We'll give you a free house, or we'll call it subsidized housing. We'll give you free food, we'll call it food stamps. The abuses just go completely unnoticed because there's not enough inspectors, because we have too many people working upstairs who are management, who want to outsource the inspectors so they can hire more of their friends because they can save that retirement money. The government is corrupt. We have to realize the government's corrupt and stop electing these fools who have let the government run amok. I'm done.
Yeah, but now you have to take action.
Run for office.
Yeah.
We need good people who are 50 years old to run for office.
Well, you're 50 years old.
No, I'm a lot older than
That's
that.
why he's saying it.
Cliff, correct me if I'm wrong. They said that give me fish, you control me for life. But teach me how to fish, I will be independent. The system in this country was made to give people fish, mostly give the minority fish, because they know that they will not progress. Let us not be dancing around. There are jobs that's what I'm equally saying, that go into these neighborhoods and build industries, develop infrastructure, go down south, around in the area of Selma, Alabama. You will see that industries are collapsing. Everything is dilapidating. The government has virtually abandoned those areas because those areas are populated by the minority. But when you look for a distance, you blame people and crimes in that area. What is the government doing? You go to other areas, they will pump money, make the area look conducive, peaceful. And then we always blame the victim. Teach people how to fish.
Well, why do we re-elect these same individuals to go back down to Washington? Why do we send the same people to Washington, the same people to the State House, that just let these, well, what do you want us to do? Make it stop. Honesty's gone right out the window. Just ask our corrupt court system. How many people went to jail last year for lying in court? 0. Ask the governor. Governor, we have a lot of things going on here. A lot of departments are all screwed up. How many people have got fired? 0.
4.
Thank you for the correction.
The registry of motor vehicles was a pencil whipping
That's
driving
fantastic.
test.
That's fantastic correction.
Well, they fired 4 people for pencil whipping the.
Is it any better?
Yeah, I think it's better.
Okay.
So I want to go back to Selma, Alabama, because I want to reinforce what Fru said. I arrived in Selma, Alabama in the summer of '64, and it was dirt poor. And shacks that people lived in looked like they'd never been painted. And then the Dan River Mills came in and provided jobs for people, which provided jobs for other people. So industry actually helped pull Selma, Alabama into the early 1900s in 1964. So I think that Fru's right. If you've got the industry, you help people move along. Everybody moves along. But, George, you wanted to go back to a point.
Yes. First of all, I don't agree with Fru on a couple of issues. One of them is what has to happen with these people that they came over as slaves. Don't you think it starts from the continent that they came from? That continent should have provided the education, the background, and everything else that these people needed to survive? But no, what happened is somebody took the advantage, their own people took the advantage of boxing these people up and bringing them over here.
You got bad government there too. I watched over the weekend, I watched the BBC. I turned on the BBC, listened to it because I was watching the French election on the BBC. That ends, they go to the news, live shots from Kenya of uniformed officials beating people with their batons. And these people are claiming that we didn't do anything wrong. Why are you hitting us? Why are you hitting us? And they're shoulder-mounted TV cameras. It isn't like these little people running around with their little cell phone videotaping this stuff. Shoulder-mounted television cameras, there were 2 of them there, covering this debacle in government. And it all ended with one of the uniformed people, whether it was the army or the police, I have no idea, took his weapon, which was a smoke launcher, and fired into one guy's belly, and they all ran. Once he fired his weapon into some guy's belly, I'm sure it didn't kill the guy. I'm going to guess it hurt pretty bad because it was a shoulder-mounted weapon, and it wasn't too far. It was like 5 feet away from the guy. All on TV. You have corrupt, very corrupt government in Kenya, and that's, unless we elect better people, that's coming here. Back to you.
Can I answer that?
Fru.
Before the Europeans went to Africa, Africa was very, very stable. In terms of humanity, the Europeans have no moral to lecture Africa, because if you see what is going on there now, you would know exactly what I'm talking about, and soon they will say World War. Let me tell you, George, if the Africans were not educated, their hard work will not have built America. You forget that part of it. They came here with morals. They came here with discipline. They were hard working. They came under terrible conditions, and they survived. They worked. You forget about that. I really hate how people twist the truth. If Africans were lazy, they were not intellectual, they were not strong enough, they would not have survived the hard condition. And it was because of their hard work, their perseverance, that the system was so scared, and then the system went into place to subjugate them. So don't tell me that they were not educated. There is no African who comes here who
said they weren't educated?
They are multilingual. So when you make all that accusations, let me tell you also, in the Lomé Convention of 1975, when Europe was coming out of World War, they were destroyed. They made a pact with Africa that Africa will send them their raw materials they can exchange. What happened? Africa supplied them so many things to build their industries. They took money from Africa, they built the World Bank, and then they used that money as aid to subjugate Africa. Everything that sustains the West is Africa. Don't tell me that they are not educated. It's out of ignorance that you may make that statement.
Who said anything about education? I didn't say anything about education.
George said...
I said you got bad government.
John,
bad government.
Did I call your name? I said George. I didn't call your name.
Sorry.
And I think George was not talking about this century, but 4 centuries ago.
That's what I'm saying. Those 4th century, they came here well educated. They took their names, they took their language, they took their culture, because they know they went there and saw Africa they were ruled by emperors and empires. And these people coming up here were very, very knowledgeable. And if you look, even the vaccine, the discoveries that came, in terms of vaccines here in Boston, it was discovered by Africans who came here. So let us, with our limited knowledge, let's not always try to perpetrate this myth as if everything came from Europe.
Okay. All right. We're coming up on 5:56. Fru, when do you have to leave for work?
Oh, my goodness. The discussion is so good that I'll be leaving just about now. So, I mean, it was wonderful.
Okay. So, well then, since you're leaving right about now, You got any thoughts you want to give us before you leave? We didn't get into the war, Putin's war in Ukraine, but you made the point to me that Africa doesn't much care. And I noticed Brazil, which is a pretty big country, has gone neutral on the whole issue of Ukraine, not taking either side. India is sort of juggling this thing.
India is for Russia.
And China is supporting Russia.
Well, the only thing that I can say is, when the French bombs are raining on Africans, when the British bombs are raining on Africans, even when the European bombs are destroying Africans, no one will raise a sanction against the French, against the Spanish, against all these Europeans. They will come to Africa. Africa is now standing up. If you look, those who help Africa liberate themselves through in the 60s, the Cubans, the Russians, they helped and left. But the West came and colonized Africa, and they are still the main problem now. That is why Africa is saying that, you know what, you are fighting amongst yourself. Don't invite us. Because when you destroyed Libya, there was no sanction on any Western, on the French. When you do what you are doing in Congo, elsewhere, there is no unilateral condemnation from the West. When what happens elsewhere without Europe, there is no condemnation. But so you take care of your backyard. We are not going to get the mess because you have always been the cause of our own problems. So that's why Africa, almost 70% are abstain. So that should speak a lot. And most of the African nation leaders are turning towards Moscow, because when Moscow did not have, the Russians did not have any slaves. They did not colonize any part of Africa and stayed there. So that is really a lesson that the African leaders are telling the West, that if you continue down that sleepy road of only coming to us if you want to exploit us, there is time.
Hey, we got to say goodbye, Fro. We got to say goodbye.
Bye.
Okay, thanks, Fru. We'll pick this up next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.